right. Good evening. Here, people here and people there. And yeah, the English-speaking people and my Spanish friends on the side. Yeah. Sounds like Tashi is nibbling on some cables. Is okay? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so welcome for the second model. Yeah, the model on how to meditate, so to say. Yeah, so we're gonna be great yogis after after the two sessions. So we have 2 sessions, right? For this particular model, it's 2 sessions, and then we have the review discussion session being the third. Yeah, yeah. So before we start, it's always important to generate a particular motivation, as we talked about the last few times. So also try to do that here, to to understand the purpose of meditation for a particular goal, right? So in order to train your mind, you can think, become a better human being, you know, generate more constructive forms of thinking, and all the way up to achieving liberation or nirvana, or even, more beneficial for others, achieving the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So generate a kind of motivation for yourself. Then if you like, you can visualize Sakyamuni Buddha in front and surrounding yourself countless beings undergoing physical and mental difficulties, and think how wonderful it will be if I be able to help them, to help all those sentient beings. And yeah, to build an auspicious connection, so to say, to make an intention to help them. Then you can imagine you lead them in the prayer. So if you recite the prayer, then they follow after you in the recitation. Yeah.
To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Sakya clan, I prostrate and make offerings and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Siddhartha, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Sakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. The indestructible, inconceivable, and inexpressible perfection of wisdom, unproduced, unceased, the nature of space, object of the uniquely knowing transcendental wisdom, to the mother of the victorious ones of the 3 times I prostrate.
Tayata gata gata paragata parasangata bodhisoha. Tayata gata gata paragata parasangata bodhisoha. Tayata gata gata paragata parasangata bodhisoha. Sangye Jedan Zoni Zonam La Janjo Badu Gyasuji Dagi Chenso Gyube Dola Penche Sangye Ruba Sho Sangye Jedan Zoni Zonam La Janjo Badu Dani Gyasuji Dagi Chenso Gyube Dola Penche Sangye Ruba Sho Sangye Jedan Zoni Zonam La Thank you, Dagi, give Sanangi, Dola, Sangi, Pasho. Godam della Chacello. Yeah. So here it says, where I just recited the last verse, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit sentient beings. Yeah, so what does it all mean? Yeah, it's maybe also good to know, because we recite it every time. So basically, going for refuge, we have a separate model about that, right? So that means that you go for a safe direction in life, so to say. And, you know, if you want happiness and don't want suffering, then it's good to go in a direction that accomplishes those wishes, right? Yeah, so that's what actually taking refuge is all about. It's not when we take refuge, for example, we have statues and images and everything, but the real refuge actually is our own accomplishment of those qualities of the mind. Yeah, so the real refuge is your own future development, so to say. Yeah, so last model we talked about Buddha potential, remember? So there's a potential that is there by nature, right? Our mind, we have all kind of good qualities of mind, and our mind, the primordial mind, so to say, is free of any forms of stains or any forms of afflictions, right? And we also talked about the Buddha potential that has to be developed. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about here. We have a potential within us to become a full enlightened being, right? We have a potential within us to get liberated. We have a potential within us to become a better human being, so to say. Yeah, even with neuroplasticity, if you just take it in scientific terms, then it's possible to change, right? And it's possible to change to an extent that you become a happier and kasa, more value in life, so to say. So that's possible. So when you say I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, that means if you go for refuge, it's a safe direction, right? So a safe direction in your own future development of the path. Yeah, if we put it in a more traditional context. But your own future development or accomplishing the qualities of mind that helps you to be free of suffering, right? Because we want happiness and we don't want suffering. That's an innate wish we have when we dream, we have when we wake up, we have sitting here, walking back home, is without effort, wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. If you're sick, yeah, I just had COVID for 2 weeks, it was quite a nice experience. Because it just happened. It just happened to you, right? You cannot, and then had to cancel a few things. Yeah, it's like that. You know, so that means that it's beyond our control. Yeah, so that means when we get sick, we don't think, oh, let's be a little bit longer sick. We want to be better. Yeah, so that means that that innate wish to be free of suffering is always present. Yeah, same with kasa, wanting happiness. Yeah, if you a little bit, pleasure in a holiday or a nice dream or whatsoever, it's like, oh, keep this, you know. So that means that that innate wish is always present, but how to accomplish those two aims in life? If you ask, what's the meaning of life? When I was, in my, early 20s, a university student, and you do all kind of things, parties and using those days, Netherlands was all quite liberal with all kind of things. So, but then, you come to the conclusion that there is still something not completely there. It's not really, 100% satisfying life, so to say, So that means that what we talked about last time, happiness doesn't come from outside only, right? If you don't train your mind, whatever external things you have or engage in, you don't become happier and happier and happier. Yeah. So that means that we need a kind of inner development. So the real refuge or the real safe direction is actually a direction in your own future development. Yeah, becoming a better human being, eliminating afflictions, and becoming a Buddha, so to say. Yeah, so we have those two Buddha potentials, as we discussed last time. Then it says to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Yeah, so that we come over, we will talk about later, what is a Buddha, what is the Dharma or the teachings, and what is this assembly of members, of the practitioners, so to say, you know. To the merits I create, to listening to the Dhamma, may become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So there's a difference between a motivation, as we just generated, right? So normally, when we engage in a kind of practice, we generate the correct motivation, then we do the things the best way we can, and then we dedicate. So what does that mean, to dedicate? Yeah, in the end of the kasa, of the session also we have a few dedication prayers, right? So you actually, there's a difference in making a prayer and a dedication. Yeah, we make prayers all the time. Don't think for prayer you have to fold your hands or something like that, right? You sit in front of the internet and think, oh, I want to have that, I want to have that, something like that. There's also kind of a prayer, right? There's a wish to get something, yeah? So, but in a normal prayer, we make it formal, right? We say, oh, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yeah, so that's a kind of a prayer. A dedication is slightly different. A dedication means that by having done this, I'm negative, but I'm negative for quite a few days, but yeah, still have a few things left. Yeah, Mr. COVID, he didn't like to go away first of all, but then, yeah. Yeah, so, Kasa. So by the dedication, you say by having done this good deed, may this and this happen. That's a dedication. While a prayer say, may this and this happen, or may I accomplish this and this. By dedication, you dedicate an amount of virtue. Today, Karina. Something happened today, I don't know. But, yeah. So, so to dedicate means you have an amount of good deeds, and then you say, may this and this happen. Same as you have seeds to be planted. Yeah, so you plant the seeds to get to get the crops, you know, to get harvest. So in a similar way, we also dedicate, and then it's kind of eventually, if you do good, eventually it will result in happiness, right? Yeah, but it's kind of, you know, if you have a free flow river, eventually it will go to the ocean, but if you canalize it, it goes a much more straighter and controlled way. Yeah, so a dedication is very similar, that you say, oh, by this and this virtue, may I become a better human being, or may I achieve liberation, or may I achieve enlightenment, you know? So that's kind of what we do with the dedication. Yeah? So that's what it says here in the last two lines of the refuge prayer. It's kind of a dedication. May by the merits I create to listening to the Dharma, because listening to Dharma means the teaching of the Buddha, right? So if you listen to the teaching of the Buddha, or you listen to things that helps you to change the mind, so to say, that's something positive, right? Because it helps us to change the mind. So that's merit, or that positive potential, you can say. May I become Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Yeah, so a Buddha is, in the first term, then I teach you a little bit of Tibetan for auspiciousness, okay? So in the first two syllables, it says Sangye Chodan Tsongye Tsonamla, right, in that prayer. Sangye. Sangye. So that Buddha in Tibetan, we say Sangye. Yeah, Buddha or Bud is kind of Sanskrit, right? So in Tibetan we say Sangye. There's two terms there, Sang and Gye. It's very interesting. So what does that mean to be a Buddha? Sang means to eliminate all faults of the mind, or all obscurations, as we technically say, or all afflictions, together with their seeds and their imprints. So a Buddha has completely purified and eliminated all negative aspects of the mind. Yeah. So that's the first syllable, Sang. Gye means a syllable of increase, or a syllable that refers to all the qualities. To have accomplished completely all the qualities. So Sangye actually means eliminating all faults, accomplish all qualities. That's what it means. Sang means to eliminate all faults. Gye means to accomplish all qualities. Yeah, so that's the meaning of Buddha, meaning having eliminated all faults of the mind and have accomplished all the qualities of the mind to its full extent, right? Yeah. So yeah, then you know a little bit about that, what that prayer means. So you can see it's not kind of, Buddhism actually is not really a religion in the sense of believing in a creator and pray to that particular, you know, supreme kind of entity or person whatsoever. Buddhism, actually in Tibetan, so yeah, it just happens today, but so in Tibetan we say, for Buddhists, we say Nangpa. Nang means inside. Pa becomes a noun, a person, so to say. So an insider. So a Buddhist is actually an insider from the point of view of inner practice of the mind, right? So that's the real meaning of Buddhist, is inner practice of the mind. Yeah, so we don't really take refuge or go for protection, although there are aspects of that, but not the main thing outside our own development, right? So what I just said, we take refuge or a safe direction in our inner development, right? So that's the meaning of being a Buddhist. Yeah, Nangpa. Yeah, inner. Yeah, maybe you can say inner being. Yeah. So it's okay. Yeah, then you know a little bit more about the prayers we do, right? Yeah, once at a time. Yeah. Okay, I made some notes today because I have to keep track. I told myself. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's two things I had to talk about according to my notes. I see now. Is motivation and dedication. That's two aspects, right? That will come up quite a lot. So it's good to know what that means. So to motivate, to put yourself in a good intention. Why? Because whatever we do, physically, verbally, or mentally, depends on the motivation, depends on the intention. Whatever we do positive, whatever we do negative, is always preceded by a state of mind, right? Even in killing another human being, one of my friends, I don't know if I told the story here in prison, in the Central Prison of Bangalore, he killed another human being. Very nice guy, actually. He does a lot of good work for the inmates, but yeah, he said, I made a mistake. 10, 15 minutes, I was not in control, and anger took over, and that caused him to act in a destructive manner, right? So that means that every action we do physically to harm or benefit a person comes from a mental attitude, right? Yeah, so same you discovering Buddhism, it comes from, oh, maybe interesting, let's check it out, right? So it comes from a mental intention or attitude, yeah? And that motivates all our physical behavior, yeah? And that motivates all our verbal behavior. Yeah, to talk nice to a person or to shout at a person is preceded by a state of consciousness, right? So that means that consciousness is very, very important, you know, because if you want to have happiness, it comes from within. If you want to be a good human being, it starts with the intention or the motivation, right? You see, that's why Buddhism is called the inner being, because from inside you develop. And that reflects later on in your physical and verbal behaviors, right? Yeah, so that's kind of in relation with motivation, intention, and dedication, so to say. Yeah. So then we have this Buddha potential that has to be developed, yeah? And we have a Buddha potential by nature, as we saw last time. So the Buddha potential by nature was a little bit loose last time, but yeah, it's not that easy to be understood initially. So that means that our mind, you know, is kind of has a potential to become a Buddha because it has the right substantial cause. Yeah, that means that our mind, our most subtle mind, is free of all stains, and that most subtle mind is also what we say empty of inherent existence. That means it doesn't exist from its own side. Right. So later on, a few of you probably heard about emptiness already, or not? Yeah. So emptiness means emptiness. That means something that is empty of something else. And that's kind of a sphere or quality, right? So that means that our mind, right, is empty of inherent existence in the sense that our mind is empty of being independent, because our mind is dependent, right? Everything is in the nature of dependent origination. Nothing exists from its own side, right? And that's true for the cup, that's true for our body, it's true for our mind. Everything is always existing in relation to something else. Nothing exists by itself. Everything is always related with something else other than itself, isn't it? Yeah. So it's true for our body. We depend on many things to keep this physical thing alive, right? It's kind of a miracle sometimes if you wake up in the morning and it's all functions in there. Yeah. So that means we depend on a lot of external conditions like, you know, drinking, eating, and all kind of stuff, you know. So that's true for our mind as well. Our mind is, you know, we see something, we hear something, then there's a thought. Yeah, so there's always dependence. Nothing exists without dependence. And this kind of philosophy we come into great detail in the module on emptiness, but it's, bring it in step by step, because it's not an easy to be understood philosophy, but a very, very interesting form of philosophy. Even mainstream scientists in the field of quantum mechanics, for example, Carlo Rovelli, you know, who is kind of very well-respected scientist in particular quantum gravity, but yeah, in quantum mechanics in general. He wrote many popular bestsellers in, 40 different languages, you know. So when he was reading Nagarjuna's philosophy on emptiness and dependent origination, he said, that is very impressive, that a person at that time talked about the same things as we now actually find in quantum mechanics. It's very interesting, right? So that means that nothing exists, although things appear very concrete out there, you know, all by themselves. But actually, if you analyze, it's not that concrete as it appears. Yeah, so that's kind of mainstream, you know, quantum mechanics these days, right? So that means that our body, our mind also don't exist from their own side. Our mind in that regard is then also empty of inherent existence. If you talk about emptiness, doesn't mean nothingness, right? It's always empty of something. Yeah, so this room is empty of an elephant, right? Yeah, so we all agree there's no elephant in the room, so the room is empty of an elephant. Yeah, so that means empty of something. So our mind is empty of inherent existence, meaning our mind is empty of existing from its own side, because our mind doesn't exist from its own side. Anyway, we come to this later, but now we plant the seeds already a little bit. Yeah. So that means that that mind, because it's empty of inherent existence, it has the potential to change. Yeah, it doesn't exist by its own side without change, right? It depends on many other factors. Yeah, so that means that we have this incredible potential to change. Yeah. Then last time, and then yeah, that's one aspect. That's kind of a Buddha potential by nature, as we indicated last time, remember, in your notes maybe? There was a Buddha potential by nature and a Buddha potential to be developed, right? So the Buddha potential by nature is actually that our mind is empty of inherent existence. Yeah, so last time I said our mind is free of stains, the most subtle aspects of the mind are free of afflictions, right? So that is a kind of a conventional reality of the mind. Well, when we talk about the Buddha potential by nature, we often indicate the ultimate aspect of the mind, which is empty of inherent existence. Anyway, don't worry about it too much now, but we come to that later. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect is Buddha potential that has to be developed. Yeah, so from our mind we have right now, all the way up to Sangye, all the way up to eliminating all faults and accomplish our qualities. You see that? So that's we between. I mean, between, we're starting here and there we have to go, right? That's the path. So in whole Discovering Buddhism course, we actually talk about what to do between starting and achieving this Sangye state or all enlightenment state. Yeah. So then we have to have the Buddha potential that has to be developed. Okay. Then what we saw last time also is that we have this kind of destructive emotions that disturbs us all the time, right? That causes suffering. So those destructive emotions, they have to be basically taken away, right? If you want to eliminate all faults, then you have to take those emotions away. So how do we do that, right? That's we're gonna have to explore. We did a short meditation last time in to analyze what anger does to us and what it does to others. Yeah, so that's just an observing aspect. But we have to transform the mind. Observing is a starting point, but is not solving the problem. Yeah. So then we have to meditate, basically. So what does that mean, meditation? So meditation in Tibetan, oh, that's already the fourth term in Tibetan, but yeah, why not? In Tibetan, the term gom actually means habituate yourself to something positive. So the meaning of meditation is to habituate your mind to something positive. It's not something magical that in the early days, now it's quite common, people, but in the early days, this person is meditating, it's kind of, it's kind of seen as a kind of sect or kind of scary stuff or something like that. Once also I had a question of a person, they say, if you start meditating, you do space travel or something like that. But actually, meditation is just a habituation pattern you build up in your mind to change your mind, right? That's what it is, So, how do we do that? What kind of meditations are there to do it, So we have two types of meditation, and that's maybe you have to write down if you don't know yet, because that's important to know the distinction, right? So we have a placement meditation, that's one. Placement, or sometimes we translate it as a concentration meditation. Concentration meditation or placement meditation. That means you concentrate on an object, or you place your mind on a particular object to develop concentration. We need concentration for various reasons, One simple aspect of concentration is, of course, if you don't concentrate, you cannot improve, right? Same with reading a book. If you read a book, my notes are not that many, but if you read a book, many pages, and then you read a book, and then when you're not concentrated, it's like, what did I read again? I have to start over again, right? You know the feeling? Yeah. So that means there's a lack of a mental factor of concentration, So we need to develop that, because otherwise we're meditating, and then our mind just goes to where do you go? I don't know. In London, where do you go? Battersea Park we used to go, but we didn't go to Battersea Park for a long time. Or to Gaza, in James Park, or having a nice drink on the river. So if you try to meditate and your mind is doing all those things, then there's a waste of time, right? That we consider distraction is a waste of time in Buddhism, right? So that means you need a certain amount of concentration to be productive. in our development. It's very logical, right? We have a certain amount of time, and we need to develop. If you don't concentrate, you waste your time. And that's also true in the office, right? Daniel Komen, for example, one journalist in the field of psychology, and I probably know his books, Emotional Intelligence and those kind of social learning, Healing Emotions, very popular books. And then there's also one book, more recent book called Focus. I mean, more recent, a few years old, but yeah. So there, it's very interesting. So he has this inverted U shape like that, you know? So that means there's two extremes. On those two extremes, there's no productivity of the person. Yeah, you can think about the office or work or whatever you do. If your mind is daydreaming, if you're not interested in the things you're reading or the things you're working for, right? Then you're wasting your time. You're not productive. So that's daydreaming. Then if you're stressed out, you know, you're so distracted by unhappy states of mind and depression, and then also there's no productivity, right? But if you're in the center of it, if you don't have the daydreaming and you don't have too much excitement, then there's highest productivity. Yeah, so in meditation is very similar. For example, if you wake up in the middle of a deep sleep, right? And you try to meditate, and your mind is just as stick as a, how do you call it? The mind just doesn't move. You know that feeling? When you're like very sleepy, you know? It's just, it's like, yeah, here I don't know, but in India you have this tar, you know, the black tar. So in India they have this round kind of, you know, containers, and then they put wood underneath and they just heat it up. It's very, yeah, very simple how they do it in the little areas in the villages, right? So if the tar is not completely hot, you cannot really pour it properly, right? It doesn't move. You know? So our mind is something like that, right? You can relate to that. When you wake up in a deep sleep and the mind is like, oh, I could use some more sleep. That feeling, you know? So then you take 4 or 5 strong cappuccinos, and then the mind goes like that, right? So that's exactly the two extremes of a kind of a dullness and a kind of extreme excitement. You see that? So that are the two extremes which has to be avoided in meditation. Yeah, so that's important to know. Yeah, so that's all to do with placement meditation or concentration meditation. In placement meditation or concentration meditation, we like to develop concentration because we need the concentration to think about things. Yeah, because we're going to do another meditation that needs to transform our mind. And if we're not concentrated, then we waste our time. So we have to know what meditation is, right? Meditation is not just like, oh, try to have a good time or try to relax or something like that. That's a positive, positive result of meditation, but it's not the main aim, right? The main aim of meditation is to transform the mind. Yeah? Yeah. So that's important to know. So we have to know what meditation is all about. Otherwise, it's very easy to waste your time. I did the same thing when I was young. So I gave up these parties, you know, all night long kind of house parties, and then I became spiritual, so to say. I was not into Buddhism yet. I was into martial arts, and then from martial arts I went into Gaza. Hardcore Taekwondo to Kung Fu, and then Tai Chi, Qigong, and then Gaza. Then I went to Chinese medicine because I thought that's nice. I was still studying hydrology, but in the weekends, instead of hanging out in the big cities, then I did the studies, right? So then because those days hitchhiking was very easy in Europe, and so we hitchhiked quite a bit, many records. So then once I had 10 days, 2 weeks off, I thought, oh, I'll just hitchhike to Austria, find a nice place, and I'm going to do spiritual by myself. I'm going to do a spiritual kind of holiday, and sitting under a tree and like, oh, I'm going to meditate now. But I didn't have a clue how to meditate, so I was just wasting my time, basically. That's what it was, you know. So that means it's very important to know what is meditation and how do I do it. Yeah, and it's not just mere relaxation. That's a byproduct, right? And if you're tired, then better have a sleep. It's much more productive. Or like my Spanish friends, you know, they probably just woke up from the siesta. They're probably a bit earlier, but yeah. So that means that it's very important. In Buddhism, the Buddha said we follow the middle way, the middle part. Yeah, so that means whenever your mind is most productive, that's very, very important. Yeah, so we need concentration, first one. So that's the first meditation is concentration meditation, or sometimes you translate as placement meditation. Yeah, in order, the aim for that or the purpose for it is to develop concentration. Yeah, is that clear? That's, yeah. The other meditation that really is going to transform us is the analytical meditation. Yeah, so that's meditation number 2, an analytical meditation. But it says already, analytical means you analyze things. Yeah. For example, you know, last time we analyzed, we did a little bit of an analytical meditation, right? What we did is we looked from a neutral perspective, what is anger actually doing to me? How do I react? And how does that actually affect the situation and my relationship with others? That's a kind of analytical meditation. It's a research, self-research, you know? You take distance from an object, from a particular event, and then you just analyze that event without judging. Yeah, was this positive? Was it negative? Was it beneficial or not beneficial? Yeah, you see that? We're gonna do that analytical meditation next week, and this today we do a little concentration meditation. So that means that we have 2 types of meditation, right? One meditation to concentrate, and one meditation to analyze. Yeah? So initially we do those 2 meditations separately, because the moment you concentrate on something, if you start analyzing it, it can disturb the concentration. Yeah? If you're analyzing and you're too much focused upon one reason, it doesn't have the flow of many reasons, so concentration can harm an analytical meditation. So initially we do the 2 meditations separately. Concentration or placement meditation and analytical meditation. Yeah, yeah. And then later on, advanced practitioners, they can actually merge them together. Yeah, so that's not a part of discovering Buddhism. Yeah, we do that in other courses. Yeah. So is that a bit clear? The 2 types of meditation: concentration meditation and analytical meditation. Because the analytical meditation is actually really changing our mind. A concentration meditation helps us to concentrate one thing. What the concentration meditation also does, which is very interesting, is that you cut off distraction and mental dullness, right? So that means that as soon, if you just, we're gonna do meditation like that, for concentration meditation, you need an object to concentrate on. That can be a flower, that can be a Buddha image. Mostly for beginners, for us, it's good to use the breath, yeah, the breathing, so to say. So not just the breath, but we make sure the breathing is natural, and then we count from 1 to 10. Yeah, so then we help our mind to focus on something because of the count. Yeah, so 1 to 10, there's a reason for that in Abhidharma literature, because if you count from 1 to 100 or whatever, you might get lost in the count. Yeah, that by itself causes distraction. So you see, it's very practical, right? These techniques are very practical. So that means you count every in-breath as 1, every out-breath as 2, in-breath as 3, and then you count to 10, and then you start over-counting. When you're engaging in that concentration on the counting of the breath, what will happen? You hear something, the mind goes out, right? Or you think about this morning, or you think about this evening. The mind is always in the past or in the future. The mind is not often in the present, right? So that we have to train. We have to. So what happens in concentration meditation, you actually direct your mind into being in the present. right? You direct your mind to be only doing one particular thing, and that is the counting of the breath, nothing else. Everything can wait. Yeah, so for meditation also it's important to create the right conditions. That means your mobile phone, put it on silent mode and put it out of sight. Because if it's on silent mode and it's still there, then, you know, we are so attached, people are so attached these days to the mobile phone, it's incredible. Yeah. They sleep more with the mobile phone than with the partner, probably. It's true, right? People, yeah, they're always with them. Like, I think it was just a research, I think in the UK, 30% of the people's walking is spent on the mobile phone. It's quite a high number, right? Yeah, so once in London I saw one person with 2 mobile phones. Yeah, so that means we need to cut down distraction, first of all. Our mind is distracted enough, so we can we first have to cut down all the distractions. So try to find a place in your daily routine, for example in the morning, you know, before you start the day, before all the thoughts come. You know, that's mostly a good time to start meditation. Yeah. And so cut off all distractions of internet and all kind of, try to find a little bit of a quiet period when it's not too noisy, because as soon as you hear something, your mind goes outward, right? Same here, you hear a plane or you hear ambulance, the mind automatically directs to the sound. Yeah, so that means it's a distraction, you see? Yeah. So, yeah, the ghost, you see, then, oh, there's like this, cars like that, and it's going there. Straight away you think like that, right? But there's no benefit in doing that, isn't it? In thinking like that. So that means that when you try to develop concentration, what you do, whenever a thought comes, that can wait for later. Whenever a sound comes, that's not of interest, right? So actually you direct your mind in a particular direction, you see that? So there's great benefits of concentration meditation. You're not only capable of directing your mind in a thought you want to follow, which later on will help us to not follow negative thoughts, right? That's one aspect. Another aspect of concentration meditation is that you become much more aware of things, yeah? So that means that same with a person who normally, you know, an average person, especially in modern society, you know, most people when they walk on the street, they always have to have something, yeah, oh, yeah, something sitting here and then listen to music or looking and kind of, they wake up, and as soon as they wake up, there's kind of sensory kind of impulse all the time, you know. They ask them to sit still on a chair without anything in the room, and some people get almost crazy. They cannot sit still for 10 or 15 minutes in a room without anything. There's many people like that who cannot deal with that situation. There's a research being done that the female did a bit better than the male, but that in the last 10 years it became worse. That you can't believe it, but some people couldn't deal with the mind, and it sounds funny, it sounds very sad actually, that there was a high number of people who actually like to have a slight electric shock in the leg to get distracted from the thoughts they have. It's very sad, no? So that means that we're not aware of our inner lives, and that's why there's so many problems, you know. That's why there's anxiety and fear, and there's no kind of calmness of the mind at all. So that means that calmness of the mind we can accomplish with concentration meditation. If you have more calmness of the mind, things reflect like a lake in the Alps. So quiet, everything reflects in the lake, right? So that's with our mind very similar. So the more you do concentration meditation, you're much more aware. It's kind of an awareness builder, you know. So it will happen if you do this on a regular basis, that if you get angry in the early days, it just takes over, and before you know it, you're stuck, right? And your whole day is gone. But then over time, you be much more aware. You say, oh, look, there's irritation coming. And you can, normally it goes in split seconds, but actually you break it down because time is subjective, right? So you become actually more aware and you can see a disturbing thought coming and developing. So that means if you're more aware, you can take actions much earlier. And that's very important because if you take action earlier, you can still change the mind. If you see a little bit irritation, you think, yeah, okay, I'm not going to follow this thought, you know, it's not very constructive, then you can still take action. When the anger takes over and becomes emotional hijack, then you cannot do anything else than just go for a walk and hope for the best, right? So that means that the concentration meditation also helps us to be more aware of the things that go on inside our mind. So we're much more aware, because sometimes it happens to people, right? All of a sudden you wake up more in the morning, you're happy because you had a happy dream, and then before you know it, you're down, right? So then, how did it happen? Mostly of the time, we're not aware of that, you see? So if you become more aware of those issues, you can transform your mind much better. So that's kind of a benefit of concentration meditation. And there's many more benefits, but that goes beyond the course, I think. That people who get real concentration, then they really see things, they really know things, they become so much aware of the things in the surroundings and people and everything, you know. So that's kind of great benefit to learn more about our mind. Yeah, it's true, right? Can you imagine if you have a mind that just looks on and you see yourself, oh, now I'm getting irritated, oh, now there's desire, or now there's this, without getting influenced by it? You can imagine how it would be? You know, so that means that you see those destructive emotions coming and going, but it doesn't influence you anymore. It would be quite nice, right? Yeah, it's like watching a movie, but not getting involved, you see? So that's kind of a benefit that comes from concentration meditation, on top of getting more concentration, on top of directing your mind, because as soon as a thought comes, you say, oh no, I'm not going to follow this, I'm going to concentrate, right? So you direct your mind constantly. It's a constant process of focusing. When your mind gets out, you bring it back. When it goes there, you bring it back. When it follows this thought, you bring it back. You see? So that training helps us also in the future not to follow negative thoughts or negative patterns or destructive emotions. You see, so there's many benefits of concentration meditation by itself. Yeah? But really to transform the mind, we need the analytical meditation, reasoning. And why is that so? Because anger and a desire, excessive desire, or jealousy, or pride, or anxiety, fear, they use a kind of incorrect forms of reasoning very quickly. You know, within a few split seconds, you convince this person is bad because of this, because of that, this person did this to me, he or she said this to me, and that's incorrect, and that's why I get angry now, right? So within a few split seconds, we're capable of reasoning, right? So now we're going to use the positive aspect of that reasoning in the analytical meditation. Like a scientist observing a particular phenomena, you look and you see, okay, I got angry, this is what we did last time, I got angry, okay, what happened? How did it disturb my mind? How did I react? You know, you look from a distance. It's true, right? If you take a distance, there's much more clarity. Yeah, if you have a problem in a relationship or in life, then it's better to just go for a walk, right? Or go for a holiday, or do something completely different, sports or something like that, you know? And then you come back and you have a much better picture of what happened. Or extreme sports, something. Yeah, people get a kick out of extreme sports because it brings you in the present. Most of the time our mind is always in the past or the future, right? So we have to bring our mind in the present to get more clarity. And that's why, and it gives a kick. It gives a kind of a happiness or bliss. Yeah, if the mind is not distracted, then we come closer to the actual nature of our mind, with this kind of, kind of luminous, kind of blissful feeling. And that's probably why these extreme sports are so popular among certain people. Because you be in the present. If you're not in the present, you're gonna be making a big mistake. You know, there's skiing down the hill, free skiing in the trees. If you're not in the present, you hit a tree and that's it. Yeah. I saw a very funny thing on BBC app. That's my only internet distraction. I have this BBC News app. It was very funny. Somewhere in the UK, it was called Casa, cheers rolling or something like that. You heard about that? People jump down the hill and they roll, and then the first who wins, they get a piece of cheese or something like that. It's very dangerous. You can break your arms or your leg or your back, you know? Yeah, it's very funny. But yeah, some people like to do that. Yeah. But the thing is, if you not be in the present, it's easy to break things, right? You have to be really, and that's why it probably gives a kick, you know? Yeah. So, so that means that's another benefit that comes from concentration meditation. Later on, the more concentration you get, the more kind of things of the mind you start to know, the positive kind of calmness and the blissful feeling. And then meditators who accomplish this kind of gasa, concentration, so to say, you know, they don't have interest anymore in living in the places we're living in. You know, there's many meditators, Buddhists and non-Buddhists, especially a lot of yogis from the Hindu traditions. They still are living in the Himalayas, right? Up in the place where there's snow, and they just don't have any clothes, no possessions. They just live there. You can only do that if you get something out of it. Otherwise, you know, you do not be able to sustain yourself. So you can see that all has to do with the mind, right? They generate subtle forms of consciousness that keeps them going without food, drink, or sleep, right? They just abide in that state. So that's possible with the mind. Yeah, there's a lot of research been done about these things. You know, the Olympic meditators, so to say, that Richard Davidson, one of the in our field neuroscientists, Richard Davidson, he did a lot of research, and he wrote very interesting books together with Daniel Komen. So yeah, there's very interesting research been done regarding the possibility of the mind by experienced meditators. And in particular, what they found is that meditators with 15,000 till 50,000 hours of meditations in their experience, they produce gamma waves beyond the chart, meaning they produce brain activity that was never measured before in a human brain, before this research was conducted, which is very interesting. And then one of my friends explained to me, who's a neuroscientist, what that means, right? That means that because of the power of meditation, they don't grasp or hold on to emotions or whatsoever anymore. It's like if you have this high score in the gamma waves, according to what they found, is kind of, if you have water and you write in water, straight away goes, right? Yeah, isn't it? So that means if there's an affliction, you just see, okay, an emotion, okay, and let go. You don't grasp at it anymore. Yeah, so that's what happens with these meditators. It's very interesting. Then with us, it's kind of, our emotions are like in stone, right? So it's very difficult to erase. Yeah, so anyway. But, so that means that it is possible to accomplish those stages of calm abiding or concentration, so to say, that you can produce the mind. That's why I like the term Olympic meditators, because with the physical body, you know, you have limitations. Yeah, in the Olympics, every 4 years, they break a world record just with a few split seconds, nothing else, right? It's only a very, very small amount that they can improve. But with the mind, it's beyond limitations, because you can all the way go up to Sangye. You can go all the way up to a mind that is free of all faults and have all qualities. Yeah, so that's concentration meditation. But then with what I said before, with analytical meditation, we use, why? Because that's the real transformation that's happening. Yeah. When our destructive emotions like anger, 6:30, we have still half an hour, no? Right? Yeah. So, because most classes is we start, anyway, that's just my own thing, yeah. So, what did I say again? I got distracted here. Analytical meditation, right? Yeah, okay. So with analytical meditation, we see the destructive emotions within a few split seconds, they reason. And with fear, anxiety, same thing. If I do this, or this will happen, and the worries, if I do this, that will happen, oh, this will happen, oh, this will happen, oh, this, that. So we actually create a reality based on invalid forms of reasoning, and then believe it, and that's a mistake, right? So now we're going to use that capacity of the mind to analyze in a positive way. That means you sit back and look, anger, what does it do to me? How did I react? What did it do to others? You analyze that. Yeah? Then you analyze that, you come to a conclusion. You say, okay, anger is not constructive. Then you focus on the antidote of anger. For example, practicing patience. So you think, okay, if I keep my mind cool, I can still be very direct with people. It's true, right? You can be very calm inside, but you can be, direct with people. That's a clue, right? That's the thing. That if you keep your mind calm, and you can see in relationship problems or in meetings, a person who is calm but direct is much more productive in solving the problem, rather than a person who is just irritated and get angry all the time. He cannot solve anything, right? So that means that you see the benefits of practicing patience, and then the faults of practicing anger. I was almost saying to say, maybe practice anger all the time. But the faults of getting angry, right? And the benefits of practicing patience. And then you get convinced, aha, I need to practice patience. You see? So that's the power of the analytical meditation. It's helping us to shift the mind. Yeah, there's much more to say about how that works with mental factors, but that we will explain next week. That's much more sophisticated aspects to that. So that means that analytical meditation is actually the real transformation that happens. Yeah? Concentration meditation is needed, or placement meditation is needed to get concentration and to get a single-pointed state of mind, to get a calm mind, to be more aware, right? And to get a little bit idea, what is this quietness of the mind? Which sometimes gives very interesting insights. Because then you get a little piece of the mind you never experienced before, right? And that's very, very interesting, and then become more aware about things, and then the real transformation happens with the analytical meditation. Yeah, we saw last time, we talked about destructive emotions. They can be taken away. Why? Because they're not according to reality, they're not the innate part of our mind, and they momentarily changing. Remember? We talked about that. Yeah. So there's various forms of destructive emotions. Yeah. So we classify many of them. Yeah, we have like 6 root afflictions and then 20 secondary ones, but I thought today I mentioned that, and then we do meditation together. So we have 3 poisons. Yeah. So 3 destructive emotions we call the 3 poisons. Yeah, because they're the root of all other forms of afflictions. Yeah. So that's later we come back to them, but then at least you have heard it once. So what are the 3 root poisons, or the 3 these kind of 3 poisonous minds, So there are excessive desire, very strong attachment is one, strong desire, strong attachment, there's one. The second one is anger, we already talked about a little bit, The third one is ignorance, and we're going to talk about that much more, because ignorance is very important to be understood. Ignorance is the root of all destructive emotions. Yeah, so we have attachment, anger, and ignorance. So attachment, anger, and ignorance, all those three, are not in accordance with reality, as we know already. All those three are not an innate part of our mind. Yeah? And all those three are momentarily changing. Right? They come, they abide, and disintegrate. Yeah? So we talked about it already last time. So what is the difference between attachment and anger then? Is attachment overestimates or superimposes or likes only to look at the qualities of its object. Yeah? While anger only likes to see the faults of its object. You see that? When you get angry at a person or situation, you think this person is like this, is like that. Oh, negative, right? And then your friend comes, pats you on the shoulder and says, come on, it's not that bad. This person also does this well, that well, that well. You say, no, no, not true, right? That's the mind of anger. It doesn't like to believe in the positive aspects of the person or the situation. Anger is only focused upon the faults. Yeah, last time we talked about the mental image of a person or situation we have that irritates us. That image we build up, we create ourselves. It's not the person, right? When you have a person, you get irritated, you walk away, and they say, "Oh, this person is this." Da, 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 da. So you create this kind of your own reality, which is not the person. But then you think that this particular image is the person, right? And that causes the problem. So also, Iron Beck, I think I mentioned last time, one of the psychiatrists of University of Pennsylvania. He passed away, unfortunately, I think last year or the year before. He also said that 80 to 90% of what appears to the mind in a rage of anger is mentally fabricated, is not reality. Very interesting. Yeah, we talk about, in Buddhism we talk about the same thing. So anger only likes to see the faults and doesn't like to see the qualities. So that's the reason why anger is not in accordance with reality. Yeah? Because if you have a person that has, let's say, let's put it equal, 50-50, right? Person is 50% faults and 50% qualities. The mind with anger only sees 90% faults and maybe 10% qualities if the person is lucky, right? You see? So that's the mind of anger. And because of that, you want to be separated from your object of anger, you know? And if you're not separated from your object of anger, it's kind of, you know, you want to do something about it. And you want to create a separation. And that's why you start shouting or fighting or whatever, you see? So that's what anger does. Yeah? Yeah, it's a bit clear. Anger overestimates the faults. Anger wants to be separated from its object, right? Attachment is exactly the opposite. Attachment only sees the qualities and wants to be with its object. When it gets separated, then irritation comes. Yeah, so you order your famous meal online, if it's pizza, pasta, or Indian food, or paella from my Spanish friends. They send me a picture. They were very skillful people. They asked me to come to Madrid, you see. And I said, yeah, I'm too busy. And then they sent this video of making this huge, like this big, I think, huge kind of, you know, thing with paella, and say, Namdak, come. Yeah. So that means if you get attached and you have too many expectations of an object you like to get, then when you get it, it's not in accordance to your expectations, because you see, let's say, 99% qualities and 1% fault, but actually the object might have 70% qualities and 30% fault. So your idea of that object is not in accordance with reality. When you meet that object, there's no satisfaction. There's a kind of, I didn't expect this. Yeah, and it's true with relationships sometimes, or with holidays. Yeah, that's Anil Khan, one of the presidents in India, actually. He said, very interesting, he was a poet. He said, if you engage in a relationship, you be careful. You marry with the character of the person and not with the outlook. It's very interesting quote, actually. Yeah, it's true, right? Yeah, I remember when before I was into this dress, with girlfriends, and you expect on the outlook, and this person is like this, and then you're together for some time, and then it's not exactly according to your expectation, right? So that means that there's nothing wrong with relationships. There's nothing wrong with having good food or having a holiday, or there's nothing wrong with that. But the attachment, that is the problem, you see. So because the attachment creates a kind of superimposition, or a kind of only wanting to see the qualities, and that's not reality, right? Yeah, if you have too many expectations of a person, or you have too many expectations of a meal or a holiday, when that's not met, it's very uncomfortable. Yeah, and that causes actually, I can get no satisfaction, right? And I haven't found what I'm looking for, right? So that's actually the aspects that is based on strong desire or attachment that overestimates the qualities which are not there, and then when you meet the object, you have these expectations of all these qualities, and when they're not there, it's kind of a little bit confused and a kind of a suffering. You see that? So that's what we call attachment. Yeah, you have to be. This attachment is a destructive emotion. There's nothing wrong with relationships. There's nothing wrong with enjoying things in life, but the attachment, that is the problem, this destructive emotion. You see that? Yeah? Okay. So that's attachment, anger, and then ignorance. Yeah? Ignorance meaning not knowing. Maripa, fifth term today in Tibetan. Ripa means to know. Yeah? Ma is a negative, so it means not knowing. Yeah, we translate that not knowing. There's many forms of not knowing. Not knowing what my Spanish friends have for dinner tonight, because they have dinner at 9-ish or something like that. So that's not really a disturbing aspect, at least not for me, right? But the real ignorance we're talking about is not knowing reality. And we come to that more than you like, maybe, because it's very, very essential. What we just talked about, the mind is empty of inherent existence, remember? Yeah, we said the potential of the mind, meaning the mind is empty of inherent existence. Our body is empty of inherent existence. That means there is no from its own side existing mind. There's no from its own side existing body. There's no from its own side existing self. Self is a very debatable aspect in psychology, in neuroscience these days, because, the hard problem in neuroscience of the subjective experience, so to say, is being taken care of by certain neuroscientists, and then they have this idea, like Anil said, for example, about the experience of a self, right? Yeah, so it's subjective kind of experience. But Anil said also himself says that, maybe that self is not really there. It's very interesting. Yeah, we met yesterday before over Zoom. Yeah, so we're gonna have dialogue. So that means that this self, which looks like from its own side existing self, that's the cause for our problems. Did we do the thing with anger here? People asked to get angry? 1, 2, 3. Did we do it here? No, another class. No? So, for example, to prove that the I is a cause for the destructive emotions, because I want this, I want that, right? Yeah. And then we see that I as very concrete, existing from its own side. With anger also you can very easy checking it out. If I say to you, I count to 3, okay? You people online and people here in the hall, I count to 3 and then you get angry, okay? 1, 2, 3, come on, there you go. Yes, it's very difficult. But when I say, oh, look at and the people on in the Zoom, I can say, what do you have on your wall? Look at your glasses and your headphones. So when you people, I can say, look at your mask, So then you can say, oh, there does Namdak say this to me. It's not like that, So then straight away anger comes, because it's related with the I, you see, with the concept of from its own side existing I and me. You see, we come to that later. So the ignorance is the root of all problems, because all destructive emotions, as anger, attachment, all is rooted in a concept of self-importance, a concept of a self-identity, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of, we come to that more, so don't worry about it. So that means that ignorance is the root of all destructive emotions, the root of all afflictions. And one of my most favorite, next to, Calorvelli, a famous, is very inspiring scientist, is David Bohm, right? He's a very inspiring personality, also in the field of quantum mechanics. And is very inspiring, and he's very open-minded. He's extremely intelligent. He must have been very, very intelligent. Yeah, as he came to new ideas in quantum mechanics, and all the great names, so to say, they couldn't disprove his hypothesis, and they just decided to ignore him because his views were a little bit controversial at that time. But now it looks like, he was probably spot on. I mean, they still do some research now in UCL. Here they're doing, I wonder if they said they're working on this. Yeah, they said they will soon produce a report. I didn't see. Yeah, anyway, but David Bohm is very interesting. If you're interested in quantum mechanics and philosophy and spirituality, there's very interesting dialogues between David Bohm, Krishnamurti, who was a kind of Indian philosopher, right? And other people sometimes, very interesting dialogues. And there's one interesting movie called Infinite Potential, The Life and Ideas of David Bohm. And in that movie, towards the end of the movie, then it's very interesting. David Bohm walks behind a tree and then says, this self-identity or self-deceptive thought we have is a cause for problems in society of security, makes a difference between us and them, and power. It's all rooted in this self-identity, he says. But this self-identity actually is just a show, he says. It's not really there. A very convincing show, and that's why people take it as an apparent reality. That's what he says. It's very interesting. So we come to this later on, because also the Buddha said, this I that appears so concrete, appears in that way, but actually if you examine, you cannot find it anywhere. It doesn't exist the way it appears. Anyway, that's just putting the seeds for the coming months. Yeah? Yeah, so that's clear. So we have three poisons, or three kind of root afflictions, right? Which is attachment, anger, and ignorance. And ignorance being the root, and why being the root? Because it's all afflictions are rooted in I and mine. Yes, a bit clear? Yeah, okay. Then I promise to do a short meditation, right? Yeah. So then, to meditate, you can sit on a chair, you can sit on the floor. That doesn't matter in this particular setting, as we do now. Yeah. There are more things to say in full lotus position and sitting perfectly with the channels, but not for this kind of meditation. Sometimes we talk about 7 posture of VAIROCHANA. VAIROCHANA is a Buddha of form, yeah. So that's why it's related with how to sit, with different Buddha forms, different Buddhas of different aspects. But VAIROCHANA is a Buddha of form, yeah. So that's why it's referring to VAIROCHANA. So then, you sit, first of all, you can sit cross-legged on the floor or full lotus position, or on a chair, yeah. Then your hands, traditional, you put the right on top of the left, yeah. So you can put just, you don't have to put like that, just relax, If you sit in full lotus position, this makes a lot of sense, but when we sit like this kind of meditation, it's fine to put like yeah. Then the back should be straight. If you sit on a chair, same thing. Leaning against the wall or against the chair, then it's very easy to fall asleep, So the back should be straight and away from the, I would say, the back of the chair, the support. How do you call that? Yeah, back of the chair. Just the back of the chair, is it? Yeah, okay. Easy. Yeah, my English is not perfect, so I have to ask sometimes. Yeah. So the back of the chair. So that means that you should be one straight line, not leaning against anything, because that causes, I can fall asleep. So yeah, the back should be straight. The head is slightly bent forward in the sense that the crown, is in one line with your spine. That has to do with energies and channels and that breathing, everything goes much more natural. The shoulders should also be loose, right? And not tight, and then a little bit air between your chest and your arm, yeah? Then the mouth is closed, and the tongue is just behind the upper teeth, yeah? So that helps the mouth from not getting dry or not producing too much liquid, so to say, yeah? So that's how you sit. The eyes are just about to be closed, but not completely closed, in the sense that there's a little bit of light going inside, but you don't see anything. That's a technique you have to get used to. Initially you can just close your eyes, that's fine, but later on you can help yourself to get this technique, because over time it brings benefits, right? Yeah, so that means you sit, your hands in your lap, your back is straight, your head is slightly bent forward. Your eyes, if they open, they look to the tip of your nose, right? So Westerners they have a bigger nose. His owner is always joking about it. Yeah. So he said, it must be easy to meditate for you guys. Anyway, so, but they're not completely closed, the eyes. Yeah, is that clear? So that has to do with the same thing we talked about, distraction and dullness. If they're open, you see things, you get distracted. If they're completely closed, there can be dullness. So it all has to do with the symbolic meaning behind as well. Yeah? Yeah, is that clear? Yeah? So that's how you do Kaza. How you do so let's do it 9 rounds, I do next time. So just, sit like that, and then what we try to do is concentrate on the counting of the breath. That means that you breathe natural, right? Don't force it. You breathe in and out to your nose. Yeah, so breathing also, some people don't know how to breathe. So when you breathe in, your belly should come out, right? Because your midriff, how do you call it last time? Diaphragm should be going down, right? Diaphragm should be go down, and you extend. So that means your lungs become bigger. Yeah. So if you breathe in like that, yeah. So, but it's natural to your nose, and then you just count the breath. That's the thing you're supposed to be doing, and everything else can wait. The past and the future can wait. The thoughts, they can wait. And when a thought comes up, just don't pay attention. Just let it go, There's nothing wrong with thought. There's nothing wrong with distraction, but just don't pay attention to it, And then keep your mind focused upon the counting of the breath. Yeah, is that clear? Yeah. You try to do that for, let's say, about a minute or two. Yeah. So count every in-breath as 1, and out breath is 2. In-breath is 3. Out breath is 4, and then count from 1 to 10, and then start over counting. Yeah, so do it for yourself, and as soon as the thought comes up, don't pay attention, and just go back to the counting of the breath. Yeah, so let's do that for about a minute or two. All right, so then we can stop. So if you do that, yeah, let's do that as your homework, if you like. You don't have to, but you know, if you like, then if you do every day a little bit and then keep the session quite short, that means quality is more important than quantity initially. Because if you keep your session short, you train in being very alert, right? As soon as the mind gets distracted, bring it back. If the session is too long, then it's easy to lose the effort in being aware and bringing back the mind as soon as get distracted. So that's why it's important initially to have short sessions, you know. If you do this on a daily basis, you know, just a few minutes in the morning, and then you will explain the analytical meditation for a few minutes, I guarantee within a few months you can see a change. You can see a change of being more peaceful, more calm, more aware of things, you know. So it's a very simple technique, but it can bring great benefit already on the short term. Another thing to be known is that as soon as you start with a meditation like this, you might think, oh, there's more thoughts than before. So that's actually a good sign, because before you were not aware of those thoughts. Yeah, it happens. Things often we're not aware of what's going inside our mind. So with more concentration, you develop more awareness about it. Yeah. Okay, is it a bit clear for today? So we talked about motivation and prayer and dedication, right? So that a dedication is a kind of prayer, but on top of that, dedicates by the power of this and this positive potential, may this and this come about, right? We talked about. Then we also talked about concentration meditation or placement meditation and analytical meditation, right? That concentration meditation helps us to concentrate, right? And analytical meditation is a transforming process. So we come to that in more detail next week, you know. And we also talked about different destructive emotions and the three poisons, like anger, attachment, and ignorance, and what they are, right? Attachment is overestimating the faults and doesn't like, sorry, sometimes it comes out here, well, actually, there it's different. Yeah. Sometimes both are completely wrong. So this time, both are. So with attachment, you overestimate the qualities and don't like to see the faults. And anger is the opposite, right? Yeah. And then ignorance is this concept of I am mine, that wants to be in charge, or that wants to have this or that, or how dare this person say this to me, you know. So that I am mine appearance, the question is, does it exist the way it appears? The way it appears causes a problem, because the way it appears causes anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, all forms of destructive emotions, including anxiety, fear, all rooted in a concept of I am mine. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, so that's, and then we talked about, yeah, how we do the posture, sitting. We do that again next week, so you get used to that over time. Yeah? Okay, so there may be questions, yeah? If there are questions, then we can deal with it. Yeah.
Okay,
that's my favorite part of the evening. Yeah.
Maybe we'll start online, because there are some hands up already.
All right.
So, Tom, if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. You were talking about the gamma waves, the research. Yeah. I'd be interested in knowing if you could recommend a good book on that.
Ale. Oh, what is it called, Casa? The Trains of the Mind or something, or not? The Traits of the Mind, I think. If you Google Richard Davidson, right? Richard Davidson and Daniel Coleman together, and meditation, then a few good books. There's two books they did together.
Altered Traits.
Yeah, Altered Traits, yeah.
The Science of Meditation.
Yeah, that's Daniel Coleman and Richard Davidson, right? Yeah. Okay, we put it in the chat for you. Then you can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good book because it's a summary of decades of research they've been done. There's also a lot of articles you can find online, right? Like the publications in the different scientific magazines. But this book actually summarizes all their scientific findings. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I prefer it pre-digested.
Yeah, it's very interesting material because yeah, it proves, because there's neuroplasticity, right? And it proves what is possible with the mind. You know, that if you train your mind, you can actually change your brain. And there's a lot of research being done in that field. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Next we have Sarah. Sarah, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, and thanks for today. It's just a quick question on technology and how do you manage your relationship with technology as a Buddhist? Because I definitely have an unhealthy relationship, particularly after lockdown and watching too much stuff on telly, and want to change that. And I just wondered if you kind of use it a lot, or if you try to not engage too much with. Sorry, my dog.
Yeah. My relationship problems with technology, maybe. Yeah, I mean, for certain things, technology is very helpful. You know, I was in the monastery for 2 decades, and the only thing I had was this old school Nokia mobile phone. You could only call and send SMS, right? And if you drop it on the floor, it goes in 3 pieces. You put together and it still works. So then 2 weeks before I came to Jamyang, I got myself a smartphone. It's 3 years ago. Yeah. But I know it's very easy, because in the early days, when I checked my email a few times a week, maybe twice or 3 times a week, I had to go to a room when there's an internet connection. You had to put a lot of effort. So I didn't do much on the internet, and all the, but now you can see it's just there, you know. Yeah, so it's just, you have to make a discipline for yourself. You know, what I do in the mornings, I just don't touch it at all because I'm engaged with other things. And then, of course, to communicate with people, you know, email is kind of a must, right? And then when I prepare for dialogues, I watch these kind of YouTube videos of presentations of scientists, right, with this kind of education. Yeah, but other things like that. And I don't watch, I read the BBC News app, you know, for a few minutes a day to know a little bit what's going on in the world. That's the thing I do. But TV, I gave up already, what is it, 20, 30 years ago, I think. Yeah, so TV is kind of, you know, yeah. Anyway, for some people, you have to check, you know, what you can, and if some people need a kind of distraction sometimes, so then they watch something. And yeah, there's good things on TV as well, right? Documentaries or things like that. But there's a lot of garbage as well, right? Or you have this kind of zapping thing, you know. Oh, I want this, oh, and then this, and that, and that. And there's no satisfaction, and then after an hour zapping here and there, you're very tired, and there's no accomplished thing, nothing accomplished at all, you know. So that means if you look at a screen with movement, like on a TV, it has a much bigger impact on your mind than reading a newspaper or reading the news in an app or something like that. Yeah. So moving images by itself, generally speaking, has a greater impact. So that's why His Holiness Dalai Lama actually said many years ago that he didn't watch TV anymore, but he listens to the news. You know, so that's kind of, yeah, probably a reason for that. You know. But yeah, you have to see yourself, you know, what's positive in what's possible in your. But it's easy for us to waste a lot of time with internet and social media in particular. So is that really needed or not? You can put it in a beneficial way if it's for education purposes, or, you know, watching movies or documentaries about the mind or how to change, become a better human being. Then it's positive, right? But if it's just to distract yourself, or, you know, these stupid violent movies where people kill each other all the time, then you can think, what's the point of this, right? Yeah. So yeah, you have to judge yourself, but maybe I give you a few ideas to think about. Yeah. No? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Next we have Leonie. Hi, Leonie.
Hi, mine's a really short question. Thank you for the teachings. It was just to get a bit more specific guidance on the amount of time to meditate for that's actually going to make a difference, because you said do a short session every day, but you know, is that 5 minutes? Is that 15?
So start with a few minutes, right? So start with, you know, you sit down, you generate motivation, and then you do a little bit of breathing. So you, let's say, yes, 5 minutes, right? Yeah. Then over a few weeks' time, you can do maybe 10 minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
but try to build it up slowly and don't get too excited. Oh, it's nice, I do this more. And then you do for 1 week, you do very intense, and then 1 week you don't do it at all. That's not very productive, right? So it's important to have this kind of structure for yourself and put yourself to a particular discipline. Yeah, so it's better to do every day 10 minutes than once a week an hour and then another hour here and there. That's not in a constant manner, you know. So that's why it's advisable to start with like 5 minutes, you know, sit down, generate correct motivation, do the counting of the breaths for 1 or 2 minutes, and then dedicate and then stop. Yeah, and then 2 weeks later you do 10 minutes or something like that, you know, and then 2 weeks later you add some analytical meditation, maybe 15 minutes, you know. So then there's a gradual process, you know, that's maybe better to cope with and to build up your effort and habituation. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, thank you, welcome.
Thank you. Abelardo?
Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe. Wonderful class. My question is, if one can let go of counting after a while, after a few, you know, some times of practice. I prefer that personally.
You can, I mean, you can also just be aware of the breath itself, but make sure that not other thoughts come to mind. Yeah, counting is just a tool to help us to focus, right?
Right.
But if you're capable of just, because there's also techniques of just only focus upon the movement of the air in the nostrils or something like that, right? Yeah. So just whatever is for you a suitable way to keep your mind focused without distraction and laxity or mental dullness and that the mind goes out with excitement. Yeah.
Thank you. I prefer it without counting. Yes.
Yeah.
Personally.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Or you can use other objects, right? You can use a Buddha image or something like that as well, right? Yeah. Because with breathing, initially for beginners is good, but there are, you know, when you get in advanced levels, and sometimes the breath goes very subtle or almost stops. So then there's no point in counting or doing anything with the breath. So then you take other objects, yeah. But for us beginners it's good because if you focus on the breath, it has a, by natural, it has a kind of potential to calm down the mind. And you need a calm mind to meditate. You need a calm mind to think about things, right? So it's kind of a double bonus, yeah. Right, yeah, but you can choose, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody here in the Gompa?
Yeah. Yeah, and my Spanish friends, we do later, right? Last time we met for, I thought half an hour, but we were 1 hour just chatting. And I mean, it was very structured though, it's very good questions, yeah.
Thank you for the teachings. I just wanted to ask, the placement meditation, is that also known as calm abiding and shamatha?
Yeah.
And the analytical meditation, is that also known as insight and vipassana as well? Just to get clear of the name.
Yeah, it's very similar, but terminology means placement meditation and concentration meditation is the method, right? Calm abiding is the result. So calm abiding is a mind that abides in its object or with its object according to your wish. So we don't have that yet. So we practicing calm abiding and we have a certain amount of concentration. So concentration is a mental factor that helps our mind to stay on an object. So we have a certain amount of concentration, but we don't have calm abiding yet. Yeah, so calm abiding and samadhi actually are the results we try to accomplish, right? So that's calm abiding and samadhi. right?
And shamatha?
Shamatha, yeah,
Yeah.
same thing, right? So that means shamatha meditation is actually what we call concentration meditation or calm abiding meditation to accomplish samadhi, to accomplish calm abiding.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And the analytical and insight
Vipassana?
is the same as Vipassana? Are they all
Yeah,
the
Vipassana is same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Vipassana meditation is kind of insight meditation, which is an analytical one.
Got
Yeah.
you. Okay.
So there's various ways, various levels. There's a mere awareness aspect, of being aware about certain aspects of the body, of the mind, of feeling, and objects, right? And there's also an analytical meditation in what is this I? Does this I exist or not? Yeah. So there is also various levels of what we call analytical meditation or vipassana. Yeah, insight. Yeah, analytical. Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow, we stop in time today. Great. Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. Okay, thank you so much. And then try to think about these things and try to put it into practice in the sense that try to do this meditation if you like, and try to see the destructive emotions where we just talked about. Is that really true? Is anger really overestimated the qualities? Oh, sorry, the faults? Do it again. Yeah, just make sure you keep awake, okay? So that is anger really overestimating the faults? Yeah? And does anger really want to be separated from its object? Is that really true? Analyze that, you know? And if it's in accordance with reality or not. And in a similar way, with desire or attachment, overestimating the qualities and want to be with an object. And when it's not with the object, there's a kind of distraction, kind of disturbance. Yeah, is that true? And are all these destructive emotions rooted in I am mine? Is that really true or not? Check it out. Yeah, so that's the homework for now and Kaza, between now and next week. Yeah, if you like, don't have to, but can. Yeah. Then somebody wants to show his child or something.
One question sneaked in there. Nicola, did you have a question?
Nicola, with your...
Hi, Nicola. Thank you so much for the teachings.
Hi.
My son meditates with me each morning.
Oh, great.
And he just did the meditation with you, and he had a question. I wonder if you can ask it.
Sure.
Come, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on, because everybody's waiting.
Can you multitask?
What's your name?
Mason.
Mason. Okay, go ahead, Mason.
Can you all multitask something?
You can. Yeah.
I think he's interested in how much should he's always on the go, busy, busy, busy.
Yeah.
Mummy is probably saying, okay, focus, but there's so much to do. Come and listen to the answer. Come.
Oh, that's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, multitasking. You like multitasking, is it? Yeah. But if your mind is calm, you can multitasking so well, you know. So if your mind is calm, it's like, wow, you can do everything, you see? So then if you make your mind calm, with a little bit of meditation with your mother, a little bit breathing, you know, then you can be a super duper multitasking king. You see that? Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Mason.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So then, yeah, try to do the homework and then be dedicated, right? So that means the positive things we just discussed, we dedicate for particular purposes. And here we dedicate for that all beings come in contact with these kind of teachings and quickly attain the state of enlightenment, and oneself and others quickly generate this body-mind to wish to become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings and understand this emptiness of ultimate reality, you know, so try to dedicate and make prayers for that purpose also. Yeah. Dagi jine sabe gewa di tendandra kinda kepa jesun lo sandra pai tembe ningpo rindu selje show. May all glorious life belong and stable. May all beings equal in space and happiness. And may I and others, without exception, accumulate merit and purify
negativities.
and may we
blessed to quickly attain Buddhahood.
Janjo Semjo Rinpoche Magye Panangi Gyek Nam Gongde Belwa Wa Rinpoche, Magye Panan Gege, Keba Nyamba Medbayan, Gone Gonde Belwa Sho. Okay, thank you so much. See you next week. Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Geshe-la. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.